The following presentation is brought to you by the Alberta Podcast Network. Welcome to the Northern Nerdcast, the podcast that showcases the geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events in and around the city of Edmonton. Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Visit their website at albertapodcastnetwork.com. If you like the show, we invite you to share it on all of your social media platforms and help grow our community of geeky, nerdy people, groups, and events in and around the city of Edmonton. Would you like to be a contributor to the show? For more information, visit our website at northernnerdnetwork.com. And now, here's the host of the show, Dan Schessel.
All right, everybody out there in the podcast I don't know what I'm talking about anymore. This is the Nerdcast. My name is Dan Schessel. And on tonight's edition of the Nerdcast, we have, of course, the wonderful, the one, the only, Chelsea Thompson.
Hey guys, this is why I love co-hosting with you, Dan, because between the two of us, we never know what's going to happen. It's a surprise, even to us.
Yeah, exactly. And one of the surprises tonight is that there's no video for me. Yay! That's not
we just get the dulcet tones of your voice.
You just get my lovely, lovely voice tonight, folks. Yes, Aaron, I am invisible. You cannot see me. You can see the bright red Northern Nerd Q. Yeah. So yeah, that's what's gonna happen tonight. You guys can't see me, but we also on tonight's edition of the Nerdcast we have Aiden. Is it Aiden?
Aiden, yeah.
Aiden.
Yes.
Yeah, like I ate in him. Okay, gotcha.
Exactly. Got a lot growing up.
And so we're going to talk a little bit about eSports a little bit later on in the show. But first off, we always like to ask our guests. We like to get down to the soul of each and every person on our show by asking each and everybody who comes on our show what's on their geek shelf. So Aiden, what is on your geek shelf?
On my geek shelf, I have, and I apologize, I forgot to send a picture of it earlier, but autographed Rick Grimes Walking Dead figure.
Nice.
And it says to Aiden, best wishes from the zombie apocalypse.
Nice.
That is pretty slick. Yeah, I don't think I ever had an action figure signed before.
Yeah, I was quite fortunate enough that I know someone that lives near him in England. I was actually born in England myself, and my cousin's husband was golfing with him and told him about how much of a fan I was, and yeah, they arranged to get that to me.
Wow.
Yeah.
That is definitely something I would definitely cherish and put up on my geek shelf. That's pretty fantastic. And a great story too, by the way.
Yeah, I think so.
I like stories like that where when people have, and that's the reason why we like to do the geek shelf sort of thing, is because everybody has like a story of something that they like and they cherish, and they always have this kind of nice little story to go along with it too. So that's pretty fantastic.
I was freaking out. I didn't know actually what to have because it's either pirates or zombies, really. But that's probably my most prized for sure.
That's pretty awesome. So Chelsea,
yeah.
How was your week?
My week was pretty good. Yeah, pretty mellow. Did a couple days of background and did a couple days for the school board. And today I was at fight class and we were playing with swords, which always warms the cockles of my heart. Those who listen and watch often know that Swords and I, we like each other a lot.
You're such a sword nerd.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, I really am. So yeah, today it was super fun. We were doing some single-handed longsword stuff, and Tim and I were helping out teaching a little bit of choreo for the end of class, which was really fun. And yeah, pretty good week.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Now, how about you? Are you still away in the far reaches of the not Edmonton?
Yes, I am in the not Edmonton realm at the moment. Yes, I am straddling the border, really here of the Alberta
Oh,
Saskatchewan border.
oh, the Lloyd Minster.
Yeah. One day I'm in Saskatchewan, the next I'm in Alberta, and most days I'm like in between every day. So
Two places at once.
it happens more often than not. Truly. Yeah. So yeah, I am still in Lloydminster for this week. I will be home for a couple of days here. Maybe tomorrow I get to come home. I don't know. We'll see. I did, however, manage to go to it's called Border City Games here in Lloydminster. And it was kind of funny because one of the places I was staying at, I've been getting an Airbnb for the most part while I'm here in Lloyd. And so right next, and I'm talking like right next, like to the house, is this place called Border City Games. And I looked at it, I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I wonder what they have in there. Well, they had a D&D night that they were doing here in Lloyd. So, and I'm like, all right.
Did you drop into play?
I typed in there and said, hey, put me in. I'm coming over. So
Nice.
I went over. I got a little bit of my D&D on. It was fantastic. It was a lot of fun. Really, the people here are pretty fantastic, and yeah, I was super happy. There was a brand new group, so it was like everyone was kind of getting to know each other, getting into the game. Sadly, I don't think I'll make it this week to the next session. So that kind of sucks, but it is what it is, and I'm pretty happy that I actually got a chance to, get out of the house. I mean, I've been stuck in. I really don't have a whole lot of doing here in Lloyd other than eating and sleeping and watching a lot of Netflix. Okay. So they have that show on Lost in Space.
Mm-hmm, the remake. Yeah.
The remake. Oh my goodness, what a good show that was.
Are you through it already?
Oh yeah, that I cruised through that show in a few days. I'm watching the Toys That Made Us right now, Black Lightning, just everything I can possibly watch. I'm trying to get through it all as much as I possibly can. I'm sort of running out of stuff on Netflix now at the moment. To watch. So if anyone out there has a suggestion to watch on Netflix, let me know. And don't tell me Defenders or Jessica Jones, because I already binged through all that too. Yeah, now I need something else.
Well, I'm glad you found D&D and got out of the house for a little bit.
Yeah, it was nice to get out of the house.
But what about you, Aiton? How was your week?
My week was really busy. Mostly trying to get everything ready for our event at Westminster Mall yesterday. We did a Counter-Strike tournament. We had one the week before for PlayerUnknown Battlegrounds, and I kind of thought I had everything ready, so the next week would be good. But as soon as that event ended, I realized everything that I have to do better next time. So I started running around graphic design or like audio cables, to literally everything.
Always a learning curve, right?
Yeah, and of course, it's a new game for me, Counter-Strike, so I had to learn it. So I played a lot of Counter-Strike last week. So.
Shucks.
Oh,
life's just so rough sometimes.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's pretty fantastic. Anything else?
No, I don't think so. I had a pretty mellow week. You guys had pretty good weeks. It's a nice start to the show. I love it when people have like fun things to report that their week went pretty well.
Well, yeah. I mean, I was a little worried. I'm like, oh my goodness, what am I gonna do here in Lloyd? I gotta find something. I gotta get my Geek on, or I'm gonna go crazy here. I gotta do something. So yeah, I haven't really, surprisingly, played that many video games, which it normally is one of the things I would do. And I did bring the Xbox out. I've been playing a lot of Sea of Thieves lately, and
nice.
I haven't had a chance to really. Well, I had a lot of chances to play it, but I don't know. I just haven't, which is unlike me. I just been stuck watching Netflix. I'm getting into a rut. I gotta get more Sea of Thieves in here or something. See with that, or I gotta get Fortnite in or something. Who knows? Anyways, let's take a quick little break here, and we'll get back, and we're gonna talk to Aiton about what Spud Farm is, and we're gonna get to all the
good
eSports
stuff.
goodness here in a bit. So give us a minute, and we'll be right back. All right, so this edition of the Nerdcast is brought to you by Yes Painting. Yes Painting is a new kind of painting company, one that has changed and molded the traditional student painting model by training and employing Emmited's youth experiencing difficult realities. Yes Painting provides high-quality interior and exterior residential painting with the added benefit of supporting youth empowerment and support services. So if you want to know more about Yes Painting, I encourage everyone out there to go and check out their website at yespainting.com. And there you'll find all the wonderful information that you need about Yes Painting, and maybe you can even get your house painted or business or whatever you want. Get something painted, or you guys can donate to Yes and just be awesome, because Yes is a great organization. So yes, go do that. Yespainting.com.
Excellent. That's a really sweet venture that they've got up and running now. Well, and it's great because part of their programming for the youth, they always had job training and life skills and stuff like that, but it's awesome that they've created an additional company that feeds back into the Yes not-for-profit. That's really cool.
Well, that, and it actually, helps the youth, get some hands-on training as well.
Yeah.
With an actual job. So that's pretty awesome. So yes, we are talking today about the Spud Farm. And I'm going to talk to a little bit with Aiton here about the Spud Farm and really find out what it is. So, Aiton, what is the Spud Farm?
Well, the Spud Farm was an idea, and for the longest time, just an idea. Last year, we started kind of putting the ideas together, but we couldn't find a location. But my general vision and idea was people like to game competitively. If you look at the games that have really blown up and done well in recent years, they all have some kind of competitive asset to them. Sea of Thieves, even though it's cartoony and piratey, I mean, there's the mission and you collect gold, but you can also take other people's gold. League of Legends, one of the largest video games out there. Again, it's player versus player. PUBG, Fortnite, all of it. So people like to play competitively. People like to share their leaderboards, their scores, all that kind of stuff. And on a casual basis, it's easy, but it's very hard to kind of take it to the next level if you want to really test yourself competitively or try maybe win some money, that kind of stuff, without entering just little tournaments here and there, or actually trying to make a career of it, going pro, which obviously is 0.1% chance of ever being traveling around the world making millions of dollars playing video games. there's in schools, there's varsity programs, especially all over the States. Around here, it's more along the club level, but you can still do it. But for those of us that are kind of past our university or college days, without quitting your day job and really trying to throw yourself at it, you can't really do it. So I wanted to have a place that basically would let anyone that wants to try can play competitive esports. They can. They can come in, be treated like a rock star. They get the lanyards and the jerseys and up on stage with MCs and just really do kind of what some of these people might be dreaming of or just want to try without worrying about whether or not you're good or not. I'm definitely by no stretch an amazing video game player, but I really enjoy doing it. My name Spud comes from the fact that I potato almost every shot. I'm a terrible shot with video games. But so yeah, we wanted to have a place. I mean, essentially a LAN center. You can come in and play video games on your own competitively or not, but with a twist of having an arena portion to it. I'll have a stage and high-end computers and organized tournaments so people aren't having to kind of organize their own play and go from there. But the big problem is finding a location. Actually, it's really hard to fit into zoning requirements for the city of Edmonton for this. And it's been a very long road, but kind of at the end of it now, which is good.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So the setup you have going now in the space that you are at, which is West Edmonton Mall, is that correct?
Yeah. So the space I have is my basement. If you say there's 20 gaming chairs and computers and routers, and it's a mess. It's been kind of like that for a long time while I've been stressing about finding a location. And finally, we had some big tournaments organized already with some companies in the States, and almost to save face with them, we were just going to have some friends together in a basement and hold a tournament. But it kind of clicked that, no, maybe we should find a space for this, even just temporary event space, and try hold these tournaments and show the city, what we want to do, which is literally getting, gamers from around Edmonton to get on stage and play. So we were introduced to West Ed through a friend of ours, and we got talking with the event staff there, and they got behind the idea. And we held our first one last Sunday. And fortunately enough, we were invited back to hold our event yesterday as well.
Awesome.
Yeah. But we are actually currently, I don't want to jinx it because it's been a long road, but I mean, we have an offer signed and a deposit paid on a place in White Ave. So he has till like next week to give us the yes or no, but I like to think he took the deposit, so that's good sign. So we might actually very, very soon have a space that people can come to all hours of the day and come and play.
So can you talk a little bit about the setup that you have for people wanting to come out to play? Are you primarily set up for PC gaming? Do you have any systems set up for gaming? Talk a little bit about that. When if people want to come out, what are they going to be walking into when they come to game with you?
Primarily, my initial thoughts going into this was PC gaming, and it's from my own biases, honestly.
The PC master race.
Yeah, well, and I was always a console person, and he's probably listening right now, but the PC master, I'd never even heard that. And then when I got my first PC, it was a gaming laptop, and that was only a few years ago. And I started just to bug him, say laptop master race or something, just to be right. But I do have to be careful going into this business in terms of like type of games to play and what they're on, because I do have my biases because I'm so passionate about gaming. But I was thinking it's going to be pretty much all PC. And I was down in Boston 2 weekends ago, and I was hanging out with a bunch of people in collegiate esports in particular. And they blew me away with some stats. There was a professor from MIT there, and she did some polling, and in North America, it's almost 45% play on consoles, and in China, it's over 95%. And by cutting consoles out, you're cutting a huge part of the market. And then nowadays, things like Fortnite with cross-platform and stuff. So I was definitely proven wrong, and talking with people, I definitely want to have consoles as well. So my thoughts is, could be 50-50, but it's going to depend on if this space goes through, the size, and kind of how we're going to work. But the idea definitely will be a stage, probably 6 computers on each side, so you can play anything from 2v2 all the way up to 6v6. We'll have a fight game area, so for like head-to-head gaming, that will probably be consoles. We do have them already in the basement. We have 2 F1 and GT racing chassis, so we can do like leaderboard racing. So we're pretty excited about that. I think the only other place really in the city to do that is at the rec room. So this can be kind of a bit more on a competitive level on stage. And to begin with, we'll probably just have like a coffee bar and maybe a couch and screen and stuff like that. But I'd like to down the road maybe make it a little bit more into a cafe, somewhere to sit, especially even if parents drop kids off, you can hang out instead of standing there staring at their kids playing video games.
Well, that sounds really exciting. I know for myself personally, I've always grown up on a console, and that's like I carry a console with me, even though I have a decent high-end laptop as well that I can carry around with me as well. And at home, I have a very high-end PC that I can run off of. But for myself personally, like I even though I do play video games on a PC, console is where I always like having a controller in my hand. There's something about the feel of a controller. So for yourself, I'm curious. You're talking about a lot of the plans that you have for the Spud Farm. But can we go back for just a moment? I want to just talk a little bit more about where the idea came from for the Spud Farm itself. Like what was it that prompted you? Are you on your own on this, or do you have people that you're working with as well, or how's this all working?
Yeah, my company's owned by, it's just me and my wife. We have friends that are obviously helping out, and the players that have competed in the events we've run so far, the buy-in from them has been huge, like showing up 4 hours early to set up stuff, stuff like that. So I have a ton of help, so I don't want to say that, but yeah, it's my company kind of moving forward with it. No partners.
Nice. And so like Dan said, I'm listeners will know who listen to the show often, I'm a sucker for origin stories. So like where did your love of gaming come from? What was sort of your first introduction to video games, and are there particular games that hold a soft spot in your heart? And as you grew up and became an adult and gaming remained a part of your life, what was the first like flash of like, maybe we could do this thing? Where did it come from?
Sure. Video games have been a big part of my life even since I was a little guy. My earliest memory of video games is when we moved to Canada from England. We moved to Bashaw, which is a small town kind of in central Alberta. They had an arcade there, and we didn't have any games at home, but I remember going to the arcade, so I did that a lot, and that would have been grade 3. We moved out from Bashaw in grade 5, so I was pretty young doing that. When we moved up here, I remember my parents had got a Nintendo, and they used to put us to bed so that they could play their Super Mario 2. I know that was my mom's favorite game.
Yes.
But so there was like always video games.
That is awesome.
Yeah, I still joke with the family about the Super Mario 2. It's that one probably has a soft spot. It was probably the first game I ever beat was Super Mario 2. It was kind of more linear. I don't know. It was. I've never been amazing at video games, to be honest. So if I remember beating a video game, it must have.
It's a big deal.
It is a big deal because it's completing them is the hardest. I get kind of bored and move on to the next one. But in terms of the passion with video games, it's interesting. Video games has kind of always been there as a tool to help me. I look at the periods of my life where I spend a lot of time video games. It's usually when maybe I'm out of work or between jobs. Probably up until this year, the most hours I'd ever thrown into one single video game was 72 hours. I remember it was a Ninja Gaiden, and it was I ended up catching salmonella food poisoning, and I was a cook at the time, and Capital Health wouldn't let me work. I spent a lot of time just at home, and video games kept me out of trouble. Right, I've always been kind of one to idle hands, and if I don't have much to do, that's what gets me in trouble. And I remember spending a lot of time then. And more recently, with the oil patch going up and down, I was out of work a lot, and I started playing a lot of video games, and it kind of coincided with PUBG in particular. A good friend of mine bought me the game, and we just started playing it. And it was one of the games that really took me into competitive gaming and player versus player gaming, because I've never really been one for that either. That kind of, from there, introduced me more to the Edmonton gaming community. We went to Fragapalooza, and then it was last fall, in November, went to Edmonton Game Day at the Epcor Center for Extra Life.
I was there.
Yeah, I mean, that was such an amazing event. And my last day at the last welding job, there was November 3rd. So it was like the day before. And part of me saying, well, I got to come up with something else, because I know there's no one's hiring in December when the oil patch is like this. And I was looking around, like, Edmonton has such an amazing gaming community. You look at all the events they hold, the amount of money they raise through Extra Life. I mean, it was highest per capita team in North America. I mean, there's all sorts of events always going on. And I thought, you know what, if the gaming community is given so much to me, like if I can even provide one service that someone's looking for. But even then I couldn't really think of what it was. So I had to try to think about what I wanted. And that was, I wanted to play video games and have fun and do competitively, but not be a pro, because I'm not the pro level. So I thought, well, what can we do kind of eSports related for the everyday potato like me? So
and thus Spud Farm was born. Yeah. So, I mean, I know turning it into a business, then you're even eating and sleeping video games more than they were a part of your life before. Yeah. But what are you playing right now for fun? Like when you're not at work and having to play, like you were saying, having to play video games for work.
I actually have to be careful about that, because now I can spend way too much time.
No, it's research. No, yeah. Seriously, I'm working. I promise.
Exactly.
But what are you playing for fun right now? What are some of the titles you've got on the go?
I would say over the last 4 months, the titles have been Warframe, which I've kind of come off of a little bit now. PlayerUnknown's Battlegrounds, Counter-Strike I just started last week. Let's see, what's the list of ones I played? Honestly, there is not a lot beyond that. I get extremely hyper-focused into one particular game or two, and I spend a lot of time on it. Like, I look at my list, there's Squad, Battlegrounds, Counter-Strike, Radical Heights, Warframe, and then the next below that is Warhammer Vermintide 2, which I only got 4 hours because we started playing it, and then all of a sudden there was like a tournament and we went back to Battlegrounds. Like Counter-Strike, I've spent 22.6 hours this week. Battlegrounds, I spent 21.3 hours this week. Squad, 8.4 hours this week. Radical Heights, 5 hours this week. So, I mean, I'm putting an 80-hour weekend of work. You know, it's hard work.
Somebody's got to do it.
Yeah, I do need to find games for fun probably as well. This is still working out how this is going to work myself, but I think if I'm going to do this long run, I can't just live, sleep, eat video games.
So do you have particular worlds or themes or storylines or game mechanics that you find you go back to when you're over the course of your history of playing games? You said you're relatively new being introduced by a friend to, PvP stuff or more competitive stuff. So before that, did you have something that was sort of your niche or your sweet spot, games that you were a sucker for based on genre or story or game mechanics?
I was always into Mario. I mean, really, I would say until my mid-20s, I was only like kind of side scroller, cartoony kind of stuff. In my 20s, I was living with a couple friends, and we got a projector and an Xbox, and I remember really getting into Need for Speed. There's something about that big screen and the racing. And I moved past that. And then I'd say in my late 20s into my 30s, it was first-person shooter style games, but more with like a storyline. You'd kind of work your way through fighting computer-controlled bots, and that was. I think that's why I've fallen into shooting type games with the PvP as well, because I think that's the one that really matched my play style or what I was looking for.
Nice. So, do you have words of wisdom or advice for, young gamers starting out, or new gamers, not necessarily young, just new gamers in general who are coming into the world of video games and trying to find games that they like and trying to find, what games you can toss out as good starting points, or, other places or people or events or things to definitely check out if they're wanting to, get more into the world of competitive gaming?
I think the hardest thing that kids that want to get into competitive gaming are going to come up against is parents not looking at it as a legitimate pastime, let alone sport. And I really think, actually, something was said to me by, he's the director of sports at Robert Morris U. I met him in Boston. He said that it can be an amazing learning tool and everything like that when done in a program that's structured properly. So just playing video games at home with your friends isn't necessarily it. But if you want to play video games competitively, my advice would be to find like team-based games and find some club or group of friends and stuff like that to try and do it with. In terms of easiest ones to get into competitively, there's League of Legends and Overwatch are two extremely popular ones that go over well with parents as well. Because
I would also suggest Rocket League.
Yes, 100%. I don't know why that one didn't come to mind, because that's one we were talking about doing with some local schools, actually. Yeah, Rocket League. Ones that don't have picking up AKs off of someone else's dead body really do help lend that legitimacy when you're talking with parents. But yeah, things like Rocket League, the tactile skill, the teamwork, the communication skills are so important for them. And
who doesn't love race cars and soccer together? Come on now.
And they have like hockey and basketball mode as well. I mean, that's super hard, but it's like, see, Dad, they're real sports.
For me, I do enjoy Rocket League. That's one of those ones where I love to play with my kids. I have two boys at home, and they can pick up the idea of Rocket League. They're not good at it. I am also not very good at it, but it's fun for us, and it's exciting whenever you get to score that goal. And it really does show what eSports really can be. I think it's a good good way to show people. I do have a question for you. However, when you are getting into your new space there, what kind of things will you have for people who are coming down to your place to play esports? What kind of stuff can people expect to have happen when they're there, like about getting into, like saying like into a team or something like that? What kind of services are you going to be able to provide for other people? that come to your place?
I think that the most important thing for me is to make sure that there's just programming all the time. We want to make it so that they can't do what they're going to do at the Spud Farm at home, and that would be things like tournaments and helping for matchmaking for teams. So, I mean, without anything obviously written in stone in terms of scheduling, at least a couple days a week, I want to have a tournament that people can come and enter into, depending on the night, maybe different games. We're looking at trying to put together an after-school program. So not every kid wants to go and play piano. Not every kid wants to go play JV football. Like, as some of us would love to say, Mom, Dad, can I go play Rocket League after school? And to have a space and a program and coaching and all these things that are in the program to lend it legitimacy, so that hopefully one day my dream would be that is considered an after-school sport. So we'd like to have a couple of nights a week would be this after-school program that we're trying to put together. And beyond that, even on nights without programming, we want to have the space set up so that it lends itself to natural development of friendships and games. If we have a group of people sitting on the one side of the stage and then another, and they're playing the same game, I mean, why wouldn't we have some of the spectators cheering them on, or just put them up on the big screen for that half hour so we can watch their play. Anyone that's played computer games, especially PvP, have played against other people, but it's a little different sitting in your den or in your basement than when the person is sitting right next to you, even if you're on the same team. I know that when I'm playing any of my games and I'm in a squad of 2, 3, 4 people, it feels a lot different playing online, talking through Discord versus sitting right next to them and cheering and feeling that the energy when they score or you score or you get scored against.
I was just going to say, in the evolution of your own playing and coming into competitive esports, adding that social aspect, the difference between playing by yourself in your basement versus coming out and being surrounded by the people that you're playing with, is that one of the things that was a draw for you, adding some more of the socialization to it?
For me, funnily enough, it's been an exercise in growth myself. I've always been very, very kind of, what's the word?
Reserved?
Yeah, reserved. I have no problem just hiding away on my own. It's one of the nice things that video games has given me in the last couple of years is the communications and social bonds and new friends. And I mean, meeting new people in our city that I wouldn't meet normally because, in the real life job, a welder, you hang out with the same people every day. And you're talking about being out in Lloyd. I spent most of my summer there living in a hotel room. So you don't, and your friends grow up and families, they have families of their own. And, so video games have, for me, life in general is very easy for me to not be social. So it wasn't a draw for me. If anything, it just kind of happened, and it's been a nice thing that video games has given me. But it's been an exercise in growth, that's for sure. Because it's hard and tiring when you're not that kind of person normally.
That's super exciting.
And how have you found the reaction? How are you being received? You mentioned earlier that the players seem like super gung-ho because they have a place to come out and play. But in the larger community in general, like you were saying, the people that you met at Fragapalooza and at Extra Life and the larger community in general, are they as stoked that this is, something that's going to be happening?
It seems it, and you hope that everything that you see on social media and read it's all that hype. You hope it continues on from the internet into your space of business. The players that we've had have been super stoked. Some of the messages and emails you get when you say, yeah, you're on the team, and eventually I don't want to be on the team, off the team. We'll just have different divisions and we challenge people's different skill levels, that kind of stuff. But like right now, unfortunately, I could only pick 4 people to go on stage at Westminster Mall. But, the excitement of, this is what I've always wanted to do. So to be able to, that tells me I was right and that there are people out there that want to do it that just don't have the opportunity. In terms of the general gaming community, everyone seems to be quite excited and looking forward to it. I'm constantly getting messages on Facebook like, "Have you found a space yet?" So, yeah, and actually, what kind of surprised me was general public. So, actually, both yesterday and the Sunday before at West Edmonton Mall, the majority of people that we saw there had no idea who we are. They didn't come because they saw a message on Facebook saying come to West Edmonton Mall. They were just shopping on a weekend, and so they'd come up like, "What is this?" Like completely confused. But you'd have people in their 50s and 60s with their kids and their kids. Oh, geez, sorry, my cat. This is icy, but with their kids and people that you'd see their kids would instantly be sucked down on the seat, and it was hilarious. Like anyone between the ages of 13, I think 25, was instantly just staring at the screen, watching people play video games. The people like the 25 to 35 were like, "Oh, this is cool," and walking around. But like, what surprised me was like the older generation, completely curious, but like not looking at it like, "Oh, these kids are just playing video games." Like they were honestly curious and asking questions. So I think that in general, everyone that I've talked to about the idea is excited for it.
That's awesome. When you start, you kind of get going here a little bit more. What kind of games are you going to be having for the people to get into? Like, what kind of games are people going to be able to expect when they come into your place?
Well, we've been slowly getting licenses together, really actually since December. We thought we had our first space. A couple of days after Christmas. We had kind of a handshake deal, and I got excited and actually bought a lot of computers as well back then. But from that point on, we knew where we were going to go with it. So every time there's been a Steam sale, the spring sales, the Christmas sales, we've been buying games. So I can tell you already licenses that we have for the store. And most of the popular first-person shooters, we got Counter-Strike, Rainbow Six, Battlegrounds. There's obviously all the free-to-play stuff. I mean, you'll be able to play there, Fortnite, League of Legends.
Fortnite,
yeah. But that, like I said earlier, with having to be careful about my own biases, I notice it quite quickly when I'm buying up licenses. I'm buying games for my interests. I'd never played League of Legends in my life until last week, actually, and it's actually the players that played in the team dragged me on, and they spent an evening till actually quite early in the morning carrying me through the introduction and teaching me the mechanics and playing it. So it's taught me that there's a lot of good games out there. So I think they'll be like the general eSports games, Rocket League, the shooters. I'd like to have like NBA and NHL. We're going to have the racing games for the simulator. But mostly I would like to open it up to our customers. If there's a game that they want to play in there, I mean, especially if it's a game that has some competitive value or value to other players around, I mean, we'll get it.
You take requests. Nice.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, that's awesome. That sounds like a fairly good list. I really do like Rainbow Six. This is one of those ones I have on my list here. Well, I've been playing. I played it when it first came out, and I got really into it for quite a while. But that's one of those ones I'm like, oh man, I got to get back into again, because
me and my friend were saying that the other day.
I keep hearing more and more good things about it. Like as more and more as it continues on, they just keep adding more stuff to it, and it sounds really good right now. So I that's one of those ones I'm like, I keep kicking myself because I really do know that I got to get back into it. Before we continue on to our next segment here, where can people find you right now? Obviously, you don't have a place yet, but where can people find you on the web or wherever?
Or hear about upcoming events or tournaments, or get updates on the potential brick and mortar storefront?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, honestly, the best place, Facebook or Twitter. Everything's going up there right now. Once we're open and we're going to have more structured programs, especially like the after school program, we'll definitely have more of a solid web presence in terms of a website so that there's places for school administrators and parents to see. But right now, since everything has been so fluid, Facebook and Twitter will always have any upcoming events, any pictures from our most recent events, or just reach out to me and I'll answer as soon as humanly possible if there's any particular questions.
What are your handles on those social media platforms that people can get at you?
On both Facebook and Twitter, it's Spud Farm eSports.
Nice.
And we do have a Twitch channel, just Spud Farm. It's my previous streaming, but our latest events are going up there. So that going forward, if there's any events that people can't make it to, they can watch on our Twitch channel. But again, that will be linked through from Facebook, Spud Farm eSports.
Amazing.
Thank you.
All right. Well, I don't know what just happened there. Okay, there we go. Okay.
It's live, folks. You never know what's going to happen.
All right. So we're going to take a quick little break here, and we will be right back with some of the upcoming awesome events that are happening in and around the city of Edmonton. So stay tuned, folks. All right, so the Alberta Podcast Network is powered by ATB and is proud to be a sponsor of this year's Pod Summit, Western Canada's podcast conference. Join us May 5th at CKUA in Edmonton for a day of learning and connection making, plus some amazing giveaways. If you podcast, or you will learn how. If you podcast, you will learn how to make it sound amazing, grow your audience, and create your show for your listeners will love. If you don't have a podcast, you will learn how to start one, and we will be happy to welcome you to the community. Tickets are just $150, and they are limited, so don't delay. Get yours now at podsummit.com.
I know you talked about that coming up last week as well, and we're salivating over the door prize that they have of the amazing microphones.
Yes.
You were considering attending just for the possibility to get your mitts on one.
It's true. They got the
It's a really good mic.
Yeah, it's a good mic. So yeah, go check that out. We have just a ton of events coming up, including the Calgary Expo, which is happening this weekend, coming up. So if you are going to be down there, anybody who's down there in costume, cosplay, one of the favorite things that I always like is right at the very end, on April 27th during the Calgary Expo, there is a photo shoot. So this one is going to be, I think it's right by the Saddle Dome. You'll see a whole bunch of what's it called, like cosplayers, and they'll be all heading into one direction. Go chase them down. So yes, go and check that out. That photo shoot will be happening. It's going to be awesome. It's the Joker's wild card photo shoot, and it's always right at the very end. It's going to be awesome. Moving along, on May 4th and 5th, we have IntrigueCon. It's the mini con that's happening. There's a bunch of RPGs that are happening that weekend. So tabletop role-playing games. If you like to play D&D or those kinds of games. This thing is gonna be I don't know how to say that right now. I totally lost my train of thought. It's gonna have a theme of Star Wars, which is one of the RPGs that are going to be running. is one I'm going to be doing. So if you want to get in, I think there's still one spot available left. So if you like tabletop RPGs, go sign up for IntrigueCon. Go find my it'll have my name in there. It's one of the Star Wars RPGs. Go check that out. And
I can speak from personal experience. Dan's a super fun GM. He'll toss some great stuff at you. So it should be a fun time.
Should be a fun time. So that's going to happen on May 4th and 5th. Moving along, we have on May 5th, we have Free Comic Book Day. So that's going to be an exciting day. Just in general, Free Comic Book Day, come play RPGs. It's going to be awesome. Not only that, we also have there's just so much that's happening that weekend. So just go check it out. May 20th, we have a Women in Games Emmited Meetup. This is sponsored by BioWare. If you guys go to Eventbrite, go check out Women in Games Emmited Meetup. And it is a Women in Games. Edmonton is a monthly meetup where friendly, game-loving females and non-binary developers and allies can share stories and ideas. People of all disciplines and skill levels are welcome, and you are encouraged to show off your work to your peers. This is our first kickoff meeting, but will be running monthly from now on, and is an all about no fuss fun on a Sunday afternoon. So if you are into games and you're a woman, go check this out. It should be very exciting. So that's pretty awesome. Moving along, on May 18th and 20th to the 20th, we have DPX, a celebration of gaming. It is a 4-day event where there are video games, board games, social card games, all sorts of just gaming and all sorts of awesomeness happening. I believe there's a bunch of special guests that are going to be at this event. So go and check that out. It's DPX. We are going to try to get some of these events up on our website here this week as well. So stay tuned for that. Moving along, we got Fragapalooza in August 9th. I know this is a little bit of ways away, but I wanted to make mention of it because it's awesome and it's more gaming. And what's better than a show about gaming and more talking about more gaming? So Fragapalooza 2018 is August 9th. Make sure you get your tickets at fragapalooza.com. And that is all the time we have for this edition of the Nerdcast. I want to thank Aiton for joining us tonight on the show. It was absolutely fantastic to learn a little bit more about the Spud Farm. I'm super excited now for your new place. I know I haven't been able to make it down. I've been kind of stuck in Lloydminster here to come and see some of the stuff that you guys got going on there. I know I see Dog Daytona made it to your event there. That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, he was on the team for the first one, and he came and just helped out for our second one.
That's awesome. Dog he's a good friend of ours over here on the Nerd Network. So that's pretty awesome. We really like him, and that's pretty cool. So yeah, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you, Chelsea, once again for being here. And I want to thank everybody who's out there watching and or listening to this edition of the Nerdcast. And I'll see you guys on the next one.
Thanks for listening to the Northern Nerdcast. Northern Nerdcast is a proud member of the Alberta Podcast Network, powered by ATB. Check out their website at albertapodcastnetwork.com. For all things geeky and nerdy, including all of our social media platforms, go to northernnerdnetwork.com. Thanks again, and we appreciate your support.